All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good whatever you want to call it. Good Friday. Today we are back with another episode 2 of the Muffed Punt Podcast. Here with me, Matthew Sargent and Matt Jacoboski. I am JB, the producer. Let's just go around the room, guys. How are we feeling today?
Pretty good.
Yeah, feeling good.
Good. Matt, are you ever gonna wear a different hat, not Notre Dame?
I'll have to think about it.
Okay. All right. Just want hey, you know what? I'm just wondering.
I'm a hat collector. I got a lot of hats. So.
Oh, you do? We'll have to go back and forth on that because I collect hats as well. I have a ton of them. I have too many of them. Now that I have long hair, I just wear them all the time. So, all right. Obviously, last week, pretty good week of college football. A couple of surprises. Yeah, I mean, it was a good weekend. The Michigan State game was awesome. The 2-minute flurry, like I said, in the Florida Georgia game was awesome. But just so everyone knows, Matthew and I and Matt as well, obviously. But we are now available to listen, download, subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, everything like that. Basically, anywhere you get your listening material, we're there. You can download it. We appreciate if you download it. If you just subscribe, you'll get a pop-up whenever either I'm going live with Man to Man, or we're back here with Muffed Punt, or we're doing maybe just emergency kind of thing, just so maybe in the future we'll have a quick 20-minute just when with some kind of breaking news, like the college football playoff 4 breaks, maybe we'll just come on and do 20 minutes, kind of just get right off the top of our heads. But yep, so we'll always be up there. We'll be ready to find it. I assume today we'll probably be up there mid-afternoon at the latest. I know you, Matthew, but I can always put it up. No big deal. And Matt, I'll show you guys how to do that as well. So we're getting everybody integrated, and now it's time that we are all going to start clicking, hopefully, with our picks, hopefully, because we'll talk about it later. But Matthew, you could not have started out hotter and gone to a worse place. But like I said, we'll bring that up later. Let's just get into today, because obviously I think, I don't know, how's the weather been by you guys? Because it's been around me, it's been gray and it's cold. It even snowed a tiny bit. It was more hail, but it's it's just that weather nowadays where especially in Ohio, and I know you guys are different places, but it's almost I just rather have it snow. Let the snow come. And I don't want it to be 35 and raining. So I'm really looking forward to this weekend. It's supposed to be nice. What's the weather been for you guys like that? And also, Matthew, tell us a little bit about what the experience down in Florida, Georgia was like. Matt, I kind of want to hear you first, though. So how's the weather by you? Looking forward to this weekend.
In Tennessee, it's been pretty dry, but it's really weird here, actually. So during the day, it'll be 50s, 60s, and then it'll drop all the way down to low 30s that night. So that's how it's been mostly here.
One of the biggest surprises I've had in a long time was when I was in the Army, and when I was younger, I was stationed at Fort Campbell. It's literally on the border of Kentucky and Tennessee. The first year I was there, they basically closed down the fort and the base for 2 weeks because there was sleet on the ground. And it was the same thing when I went to South Carolina for a year in the winter. They had a dusting out of nowhere, and the whole city just shut down. So it's very weird, different down south. I'm sure, Matthew, you can attest to that. But yeah, I mean, when I was getting called off of school and off of work, I was like, Jesus, we have 14 inches coming every 20 minutes in Ohio. So, yeah, but Matthew, go ahead, talk about how you're feeling. And then obviously fill us in a little bit out of the Florida Georgia game.
Yeah, it's just been hot and rainy down here in South Florida, which is about the worst combination there is. We went up to Jacksonville. It was about maybe mid 60s up there, which if you're from South Florida, you look forward to that 11 months a year. So weather up there was great. I mean, game day environment was great. There isn't a better tailgate than at the Florida Georgia game. So all in all, just a great experience getting to walk around. People complain about that being the neutral site because it is in Florida. But anybody who saw that stadium, there was a very clear 50-50 split, which is the best you can hope for. So great time altogether.
Awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, I've never been to a big game like that. Obviously, like when I went to South Carolina, I think I went to a couple of the games, but nothing like that. I would love to do that. But yeah, all right, let's get into it a little bit. I think we're starting out with some trivia. So this is very recent trivia. And unlike last week, I have the answers correctly on my sheet. Once again, I always like to ask this. I did not put the answers on either of your sheets, correct?
Mm-mm.
Okay, cool. First one should be a little bit easier, but okay. After last week's game, Georgia fell to second in the country in total defense. I mean, second in the country is not like they're bad or anything, but total defense would be is determined by yards per game. Who overtook them for first place?
So I put down Clemson as a guess because I know they're up there. I am not sure if they were that high, but
Matthew, you have a guess?
So actually, until I read this question, I did not know that Georgia fell to number 2. By this point, I'm a little upset that I'm going second because people are going to think I'm piggybacking. My guess was Clemson as well.
Okay. No, you guys are both way too far south. Wisconsin.
okay.
You guys probably haven't noticed it as much just because you're not. I mean, maybe you a little bit, Matt, but Wisconsin's defense has been very, very good for about the past 3 or 4 or 5 years, and their offense has just been bad in just the running thing. But they're, yeah, I mean, if you want to watch boring football, it's horrible. So, but yes, they overtook them for first place. All right, now this is the second one, a little bit tougher. Maybe not though. Okay, this conference has the most teams in the top 10 of total offense, which is like I said, yards per game with 3. They have three teams from this conference are in the top 10. What's the conference and what are the 3 teams?
My guess right off the bat was the Big Ten, just because even though coming off the question about Wisconsin having the best defense, there isn't really a ton of that outside of them. So I'm going to go with Big Ten. Those 3 teams, I mean, obviously I'm going to go Ohio State and then maybe like Michigan State and Maryland.
Not terrible. Well, Maryland was a good guess. Maryland's a good guess. No, but it's not the Big Ten. It's not the Big Ten. No. Ohio State is, I think, second in the nation in total offense, but I'm pretty sure that's the only Big Ten team in like the top 50. So Big Ten is not the place to go there. Sorry, man. I know you're from the South, but when it comes to scoring, we don't do much. There's one school that does it a lot. It's Ohio State. So, what about you, Matt?
I just looked at the quarterbacks for this one. I think it's the ACC, Wake Forest, Pitt, and Virginia.
You're such a cheater.
I'm not a cheater.
Yes, you did.
I swear to God, I didn't cheat. I just looked at the quarterbacks.
You just looked at the quarterbacks.
Yes, Brandon Armstrong is leading like top 5 in passing. Kenny Pickett's top 5 in passing.
Okay, yeah. Well, yes, to burst the bubble, yes, you are correct. The ACC, which has been just a mockery this year because it's been horrible other than Wake Forest, who we know they could lose like 5 straight here to the end of the season. But yes, it is the ACC. I was shocked to see Virginia up there. I knew Wake Forest was up there. And I was also shocked to see Pitt as well. Like I knew Kenny Pickett was having a really good year. I didn't know their offense was that good though. So nice, Matt. Maybe I'll start throwing some prizes in here once I can start getting you guys really, really good on them, then we'll maybe start making some things. All right. So obviously this week, the biggest news in college football was the first release rankings for the college football playoff 4. I think we're only going to do 1 through 6 really right now. But instead of our 1-minute debate, like usual between 2 people, we're going to go around the room and we're going to each talk for a minute about our top 4 and the reasoning behind it. And then we'll obviously get into the real top 4, talk about some hypotheticals and things like that. Matthew Sargent, I'll let you go first. Let's hear your top 4 and some reasoning behind it.
Yeah, so top 4, I've got Georgia number 1. I've got Michigan State number 2, Alabama number 3, and Ohio State number 4. People could be upset that Oregon's not in there. You lost to Stanford. I really don't know what else to say. One of the top 4 teams in football is not supposed to lose to Stanford. It gets tricky because I do want to give the nod to Cincinnati. I think if they finish the season undefeated, they can be in the top 4. But as it stands right now, I wouldn't be worried if I'm a Cincinnati fan because Georgia and Alabama are likely going to play, and Michigan State and Ohio State are going to play. So of those 4 teams, 2 of them are going to have another loss, and I think Cincinnati has their way in that way. But Georgia, Michigan State, Alabama, Ohio State is where I sit right now.
Okay. Matt, what about you?
I got the same 4, but I have a little different order. I got Georgia, Ohio State, Bama, and then Michigan State. I just think Michigan State's only got one good win all year. So I kind of am waiting to see them play another Ohio State or Iowa, something like that. But I just think Ohio State right now, the way they're playing, I mean, they took a little bit step back. Penn State played them a little tougher than people expected, but I just think they're playing really good on both sides right now.
Yeah, they didn't look incredible versus Penn State, but I think that's also just a little bit of Penn State's incredibly inconsistent this year. I mean, in my opinion, I think James Franklin's already got his eyes and pretty much half his heart either at LSU or USC. So I don't think he's really carrying that much. And you also have to think about Penn State as well. I mean, had they had Sean Clifford not gotten injured, like I know that you lose a game and your quarterback gets injured, it's easy to blame the backup. But really, when your team did a lot of things wrong, but really, Penn State wins that Iowa game if Sean Clifford stays in the game. So
yeah,
I like that. I like all of yours. I think Georgia at the top for me is. I would like to hear anyone out there. I would like to hear an argument against Georgia is not the number 1 team. Like I don't know what it would be. It's mind-boggling. But I would have Cincinnati at 2. Then I would have Bama at 3 and Ohio State at 4. I'd probably have Oregon at 5. I'd have Michigan State at 5, Oregon at 6. What I do with mine is I just take the best teams, and these are the college football playoff 4 for right now. I don't think these will be them by the end of the year. I just think that, and now we'll get into, I guess, just the actual college football playoff 4, which was released. What was it, Tuesday? But it was 1 Georgia, 2 Alabama, 3 Michigan State, 4 Oregon, 5 Ohio State, 6 Cincinnati. So I think I put it on the outline, but what was after they the top 6 released, what was the most surprising thing to you? Matt, let's start with you, man.
I was shocked Oklahoma was so low, to be honest.
Okay. So that was the
12. I know they don't have a lot of big wins, but
okay.
That was pretty shocking.
I agree. Matthew, what about you?
I mean, I was shocked by Oklahoma too, but I loved that they had them where they did. I 100% agreed with it. I was surprised to see Oregon in the top 4. I really thought they were going to be right around that 6 or 7 range.
So you guys clearly weren't as surprised about Cincinnati then than I was. That was surprising to me, just because, I thought the committee would throw them a bone. I thought that's where I put them in the first one, throw them a bone and let them drop from there. Basically, what the committee has done to Cincinnati is just given them the middle finger and been like, fuck you. There's literally no way you can get in without a tremendous amount of help. And not only did they screw Cincinnati, in my opinion, but they screwed the other teams more, because SMU and Houston weren't ranked in the top 25, and those would be the only 2 wins that Cincinnati has left on their schedule to win. So I was surprised that they gave them the 6th spot and just basically told them from the beginning, fuck off, unless everyone loses, you really don't have a shot.
Yeah.
Which I think it makes sense. I think Cincinnati is nowhere near on the class of Ohio State, Georgia, or Alabama, and obviously Georgia's even better than that this year. But you told me that Oregon and Cincinnati were going to play, or Oklahoma and Cincinnati were going to play. I think Cincinnati would be able to beat them or stay in the game. It wouldn't be a blowout. So I was shocked by that. But the one that shocked me more, and I'm surprised I guess it didn't shock you guys, but Alabama at number 2, I think, is wild. I'll start with you, Matthew. You're the SEC guy. It looks like it's setting up for if Alabama doesn't beat Georgia in the SEC championship game, they're out.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I don't know. Just what are your thoughts on the whole kind of thing? I guess, and then I the most surprising thing to me was Alabama too.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely arguable that they are the number 2 team in the nation. I'm a little bit surprised that the committee almost didn't try to even save face about it. With the public perception of the committee, everybody kind of guessing they're going to have Alabama at number 2 and a Cincinnati at 6. You would think that they wouldn't do it, but they did. What's really interesting with Alabama here, though, is what Auburn can do, because they're going to be playing Texas A&M. They've already got wins over Ole Miss and Arkansas. So if Auburn wins the Iron Bowl, they're very easily a top 4 team, I think, even with a close win to Georgia Southern and a loss to Penn State. So as far as Alabama, if they miss out on the SEC championship game, they're out. I think if they lose it handily to Georgia by like 30 points, they're out. I think if they keep it to like maybe a 3-point loss, if they lose by 3, I don't want to see them in the playoff. I think we probably will. But it is interesting to see that they're number 2 and they do have a little bit of grace if maybe they lose to Georgia.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I don't know. Matt, what did you think about Notre Dame at 10?
I mean, that's where I have them. I mean, it's just hard for them to put them any higher with undefeated teams in there, like Wake Forest, and like I think they would beat Wake Forest, but just the fact that they're undefeated right now, you can't really put them ahead of them.
Yeah, no, I understand that. And with the Alabama thing, it's just, in all honesty, they probably are the second or third most talented team in the country. I think this evolves into what this all evolves into is a 2-loss Alabama. Is there going to be enough chaos that happens throughout the Big Ten or the Big 12, things like that a 2-loss Alabama not only would get in over Cincinnati, but over another 1-loss team, which I think they kind of showed that that's very much a possibility with Alabama at 2. But yeah, I like they put Oregon in. I like Michigan State at 3. I guess I'll kind of go around to you. What do you guys see this kind of setting up to? Like, because I have an interesting tidbit. I guess I can just say it. If things play out and it's not a super unlikely outcome, but you are possibly looking at the Big Ten versus the SEC in the playoffs with Alabama and Georgia and Ohio State and Michigan State, because of how they put those 2 teams in there, where Ohio State could just come up and take the second spot, and then Alabama would be 3, and Michigan State would be 4. I don't know. Feel free to shoot out any hypotheticals you guys have, but Matthew, I'll just kind of start with you. Like I said, I think it's setting up for kind of a Big Ten ACC or SEC, which is crazy because people will lose their minds. But yeah, what are your thoughts kind of going forward with it?
I'm still going to stick with my belief that if Cincinnati finishes the season undefeated, then they're in. By that time, like I said, we likely see Georgia play Alabama. We are going to see Ohio State play Michigan State. I will not be surprised if even that's a close win for Ohio State and we see Michigan drop a lot. That's just kind of how the committee tends to do these things. So I think it's very easy to see Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, Cincinnati, in no particular order. I say that. That is about where I see this heading.
Okay. Matt?
I think Bama's going to, at this point, probably get in, even if they lose a close game to Georgia. So I think both of them will be in. And then I think Ohio State runs the table. They'll be in. And then I probably agree. I think Cincinnati gets in over maybe a Michigan State with 1 loss, because they don't even get to play in the Big Ten championship. I feel like they'll look at Cincinnati undefeated as deserving for once. So
I think one of the more interesting things is they've also set this up so, like, obviously Ohio State's going to have to play 2 more top 10 teams in Michigan State and Michigan. And they'll probably have to play Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship, which, I mean, it might not even be a ranked Wisconsin team. I don't really know where I was going with that, but I guess do we think like what about a one-loss Oklahoma? Do they get in over Cincinnati?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so? Okay. But where I was going with that before is they put Oregon at 4, and I think they did it in the first rankings because they know that even though Oregon beat Ohio State, that down the stretch Ohio State is going to have a chance to beat 2 top 10 teams, and then they'll still be like, well, yes, Oregon had a huge win, but Ohio State had 2 more huge wins at the end of the year, so that's why they would justify a Ohio State over Oregon, I think. But yeah, I don't know. It was to I think a lot of people, it was a very surprising reveal, whether it be happy or not happy. I am a little skeptical of what the committee's pretty transparent. Like they've been pretty fair and consistent with what they do. They want good teams from Power 5 conferences that have big wins, and big wins matter more over losses. So like I said, with Alabama, Alabama's crushed Mississippi State, and Mississippi State somehow found its way onto the top 25 at 17th, I believe, which is actually not that bad considering they have beaten 3 other ranked teams. They're the only team on that list in the top 25 to beat 3 other top 25 teams. And they obviously propped up A&M a little bit, I think. But yeah, I don't know. I thought it was an interesting reveal. And the best part about it is it means absolutely nothing going forward. So unless you guys have anything else on it, we can move on to some college football news and then obviously get into the big games of the weekend.
Yeah.
All right. So just some news real quick. Gary Patterson out at TCU. You guys are a little younger, so you might not like Gary Patterson at TCU is almost like Bill Snyder at Kansas State, I guess I would say. Like when Gary Patterson took over at TCU, they were nothing. They were like even like a bad, like an SMU, not nothing, like horrible. And he's taken them to a pretty good level. I mean, they've been in the Rose Bowl. I think they've won the Rose Bowl a couple of times. So definitely, I think something happened behind the scenes there. But it's also not surprising with college coaches. We see it with NFL coaches. People are getting impatient. With college coaches, they're just going to get impatient as well. And then around me in the MAC, Akron fired Tom Arth. I talked to the guy a couple times. He's very nice. But that program is about as bad as it gets in the FBS. They built a multi-million-dollar stadium like 16 years ago called Infocision Stadium. Was supposed to be on the rise with their program. The only people that go to those games are when they host Friday night football games between St. Vincent, St. Mary, and Hoban and things like that. So that program, I either think they're going to fall to Division I AA or FCS, or they're just going to drop football altogether because they are losing money. So yeah. And then Maction on the weekdays is back. Did you guys watch any of it?
I didn't get to catch any, but I was looking at some scores, and they seemed like there was a lot of good games. Pretty much every game was a 1 score.
What about you, Matthew? Have you caught on to Maction yet?
So I missed it as well, and I actually didn't really understand everything behind it and why everyone had been talking about it. And it's on me. I'd ignored it for a little bit. But seeing that we were going to talk about it today when I looked at the outline last night, I started doing some Googling and doing some research, and I am definitely diving in head first as soon as I can.
Yeah, Maction, it's like, I don't know if you guys saw, I did like a little thing on Wednesday for just previewing a lot of the NFL and college football games for the weekend. But Maction is like, I want to bet on it so bad, but it's crazy. Like you have absolutely no idea what's going to happen there. I mean, so many turnovers, so many horrible things that happened. Like Akron was going to win this week, and then with like 25 seconds left, their quarterback ran a draw and dove for the end zone, fumbled the ball, and they recovered it and they lost. It's just anyone out there, if you just want to have fun watching football games, watch Maction on the weekdays. It's awesome. I was also happy Kent State got a pretty big win over Northern Illinois. So Maction is back, everyone. Definitely go check it out. Second to last thing, Minnesota extends PJ Fleck through 2028. Good move, bad move?
A little bit too long, I think. I don't think he'll finish that contract, is what I think, to be honest.
Matthew, anything?
I think it depends what you expect out of that program. If they want to stay right where they're at, then, it's great. Minnesota's always a team that's just kind of going to cruise, and then maybe they can take some really good teams and play them close every once in a while. But we're not going to be talking about them in the CFP top 4 or the first 2 out or anything like that anytime soon.
Yeah, I got you. All right, and then we're going to head over to do some prospects and the draft. Then I have a couple, just 2 questions from last week, and then we'll go over. But all right, man. Matt, I listed it out for you, or I didn't list it out. I put it in there. Any prospects to watch this weekend, especially maybe some matchups or anything like that?
So right now, you guys know I've been down on him. Sam Howell, I think he needs to come out and just hash the Wake Forest defense because they are atrocious. Another one, you guys want to say?
I was saying their defense isn't terrible. I mean, it's not good, but it's not terrible.
They spotted 56 to Army or something.
Hey, Army scores. I don't know.
We'll get to that later because my picks. I don't know how the over/under in their game against Air Force is 37. So
I was just about to say that. The most crazy thing I saw this week was the total of that game is 37.
Yeah. Another one. I'm most excited for this one is Kayvon Thibodeau against Jackson Kirkland on Washington. He's the offensive tackle.
Yeah.
Both were top 20 projected players coming in. So
okay.
I want to see Kirkland, see how he handles that.
Yeah. So this is more of a question just with because it's always been hard for me, and you're obviously a little bit more west than I am, but it's been hard with me to keep track of the prospects on the West Coast just because they play at Saturday night. Their Saturday games are 10 o'clock for me, and you, I think, as well, Matthew. So, do you how do you stay up with? Do you honestly just stay up and watch these games?
I stay up late. Yeah, I'm a late birder. So.
Yeah, I used to do that, but then that also turns into, oh, Justin, you lost all your bets today. Well, let's throw $500 on this UTSA UTEP game. So. Yeah, I don't.
By 3 a.m, you found some Australian league.
Yes,
you're gonna play.
Yes. I'm starting to bet on cricket at that point or something like that.
Yeah.
Trying to get anything back that I lost. Yeah, but no, I agree. Kayvon Thibodeau. I mean, I don't know how much Matthew you've seen of him, but I guess I'll ask you. How do you think? Where is or I'll ask 2 things. Where is a good position for him in the NFL on defense? Because I don't necessarily know if he's a defensive end because he's a little bit smaller. However, I do think he would be a linebacker. And I guess who's your pro comparison for him, Matt?
Ooh, on the spot, that's tough.
I think I have one. I just can't remember his
name.
I
don't really have one. I can't think of one right now off the top of my head, but I do think he's a stand-up rusher for sure in the league.
Okay.
With his size, but
hold on. Where's this guy from? Zadarius Smith. He reminds me of Zadarius Smith for the Packers. Obviously, he hasn't had a great year this year, but he had a really good year last year. I think him and Thibodeau is almost a mix of him and Shaq Barrett. From they both have the stand-up ability to play, the stand-up and rush the quarterback, but they're also athletic enough to drop back into pass coverage if they have to. But do you think he's pretty much cemented himself as the number 1 pick, barring a need for quarterback? Yeah, barring a need for quarterback.
Yeah. Even with a need for quarterback, the quarterback class is at this point not even in the same stratosphere as him. So I think whoever has that pick is either taking Thibodeau or they're trading it to somebody that will.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I don't know if I had anything. Any guys you think are going to start? I mean, just any trending up, trending down. Looking ahead to the draft a little bit, not even to the draft, just on the season. So overall, like any trending up, trending down. I mean, I think we talked about it last week, but it's becoming more and more likely. I think that Tyler Linderbaum is a top 10, maybe a top 8 pick, which is insane for a center, but I think he's worth it. I think he's really good. Yeah, unless you got anything else, we're gonna move on to.
I mean, I wrote him down, and I wrote as much as he's moving up in the Heisman rankings, he's also moving up in draft stock. Kenneth Walker, I think, is almost in the first round conversation now, even though he's a running back.
So this is a question for both of you, then, I guess. If you're an NFL team, would you ever draft a running back in the first round? Matthew.
Yeah, absolutely.
Matt.
Yeah.
I mean, I would, and the reason I say I would is because I wouldn't sign him to a second contract. That's when they go downhill. And if you draft one in the first round, you get that extra year on their first contract. You get 5 years out of them, and then you can let them go.
I've never heard of that strategy. I need to think. You know what? I'm not going to dismiss it, but now that you say it, I need to think about it more. You know what? I'll get back to you next week about it, because that is tricky. But to do that, it's very possible. But to do that, you almost have to be in a position where your Super Bowl window is open for like these 4 years, and then
yeah. I mean, I wouldn't take him high in the first round, but like, if you're later pick in the first round, you're probably a contender anyways or close to it. So I would prefer to take him in that first round, get that extra year out of him.
Yeah, I think Matthew, I think we talked about it maybe a couple of Fridays ago, or maybe you weren't. I don't know, but I mean, I think Saquon Barkley has shown teams that you can't draft a running back that high. It's just there's no way it's possibly worth it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is a sad case. I hope he just needs to get out of New York, but so does
he needs to change the scenery.
Yeah, so do a lot of people. All right, and then just going over last weekend a little bit. There's really two burning questions, and I'll start out with this one. So obviously with Florida, we've been hearing about Emory Jones and Anthony Richardson for, I don't know, since the Alabama game at least. Like who Richardson's better, he should be playing. And Dan Mullen probably has nothing to lose with playing him. My only question is, and this is, I guess, for you, Matthew, and if you have a comment as well, why would you start the guy for his first career start against one of the best defenses we've seen in the last 50 years? Like, what goes into that? Like, that was mind blowing to me.
So I told everybody that is what I was afraid of. It's the reason I wanted to start Emory Jones in the Alabama game, because the stakes are just as high, even if the defense isn't the Georgia defense. It's not what I wanted to see happen, and it's what happened. Just to throw in a little bit of a dig while I still can. I'm punching up here, and I know that. But we saw something very similar last year with Georgia. About halfway through the season, the decision was made that JT Daniels was healthy. And we still did not see him for a good bit of the season. And in the Florida-Georgia game last year, we saw Stetson Bennett. We saw DeJuan Mathis. We knew JT Daniels was healthy, and he never played a snap. So why these coaches do what they do, even guys like us can't figure it out sometimes. Going forward, I think Anthony Richardson is the starter. I think he's just got to white knuckle his head coaching job right now.
Yeah, I mean,
Dan Mullen.
And I know his recruiting is not like the best, and there's things going on there with that. But yeah, I just couldn't believe he started him. I think it's the right move. I don't think hanging on to Emory Jones for the rest of the year is like if you're going to start Richardson, you might as well just keep playing him. And even as a coach in that position, like I would have been like, dude, I'm sorry I fucked up by putting you in this game, but what you need to do is just forget everything that happened this game, and where you got the keys for the rest of the year. Like the rest of the year, we're building towards next year, basically. So, yeah, I like that. And you also brought up a great point, and Matt, I also want to get your opinion on this as well. What is the whole story with JT Daniels? Like, I just don't get it. Like, I remember last year when I was like covering it a little bit, and like he was there, but he was healthy, but he wasn't also playing. And now this year, it's like he practices every Monday or like Tuesday and Wednesday, and then he'll miss Friday's practice, and then he just won't play. Like, maybe you have a better feel of it down there, Matthew. I don't know, but it's so weird because we put this whole, like, him transferring to Georgia was supposed to put them over the top, and he hasn't done that. It's been the defense that puts them over the top. And I got to tell you, if I'm Kirby Smart, unless Stetson Bennett gets hurt, I don't know if I'm going back to JT Daniels. Matthew?
Yeah, kind of. I'm not going to claim to have my finger on the pulse of the program, but just, being, at least as much as I try to be around it, kind of what I've gathered is that re-injury risk is very much there. I think it was his lat that was hurt, and he's going to start for the SEC championship game. I would bet money on it right now that we will see JT Daniels in that game. I think they're trying to keep him warm, but if Stetson Bennett can win games, I don't think there's any reason to risk putting JT Daniels out there. Is it a little bit of disrespect to Florida that they felt comfortable playing us with their backup? Absolutely. But I think Kirby Smart's doing the right thing this season by not risking that re-injury, because that Stetson Bennett can go and win those games. If Stetson Bennett was more of a question mark, I think JT Daniels would be playing by now.
Matt, you got anything?
I loved JT Daniels. I watched a little bit of him from last year, and I loved him as a prospect. I thought he was going to be a big riser throughout the season, but I don't get what's going on with the injury. But I think at this point, I don't think it makes sense to ruin the mojo. Your team is playing better than anyone in the country. I don't really think it makes sense to just throw JT Daniels in and possibly mess things up, especially if he gets re-hurt. He's in and out. Like, it'll just completely mess up the offense.
See, I like what you both said, so I'm going to pull two things from that as well, because there is something to be said for, like, getting a flow with a guy, like getting, like, obviously this is a much overemphasized example, but like there's something about being together as a team. Like, you see what's happening with the Browns this week and OBJ and Baker. Like, there's something about like having Stetson Bennett and playing games with him and winning with him. But there's also the part where I kind of agree that JT Daniels is like, he was his 5-star to come out. Like, but what do you do? So it's just very interesting to me, because like, if I know they're mostly a ground-based team for the most part, and I mean, Stetson Bennett did not look that good against Florida. I mean, what did he throw? 2 picks? Like, it's just where you say there's no risk. I mostly agree with you, Matthew, but I don't agree with you fully, because I do think there's a risk that you bring JT Daniels back in and it doesn't click with those guys together. But I do agree. JT, we've come to the point in the day and age where, like, we know that if you put a good offensive line and good or decent receivers out there, these 5-star quarterbacks are 5 stars for a reason. So, I mean, I kind of understand it from both sense.
One more thing to note is that JT Daniels, his number one guy last year was George Pickens. He's out for the year. And their number one guy this year is a true freshman tight end. He hasn't played with him. So Stetson Bennett's got the connection with him. So I don't think you should mess with that connection. Just leave Bennett in.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Good point, yeah.
6 to 1, half dozen to the other. Whatever. This was just real quick, Matt. Do you? I know we do the prospects of the draft. Do you do recruiting as well?
I'm trying to get into recruiting. Oh, what are you telling me?
No, that's my bad.
Matt, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I want to do it. I want to do scouting and recruiting.
Okay. What were you gonna say, Matthew?
And they're both. Sorry.
Oh, I don't know. I was ready to start just blowing air out because I didn't know.
I was wondering because I'll add recruiting stuff in here. I just didn't know if you guys follow it, because I follow it. I'm one of those weirdos who thinks it's even more like sometimes it's more enjoyable and fun to follow that stuff than the actual games. But yeah, no. So I'll start putting some more stuff in there. It's definitely, and then definitely we can get into that in the off season too. So I should be doing this on live air, but I apologize. And then the second question I had, or not question, but just to bring up last week's something, because we don't get a chance to recap them. So I think it's important that we kind of talk at least a little bit. I've seen everyone come out and like people not necessarily are trying to defend him or whatever, but like sticking up for Jim Harbaugh and like saying that whatever, it wasn't all his fault. I had an idea for an article that I've been. It's going to take me a long time to write because I'm going to crush him. I blame Jim Harbaugh for 85% of their loss. Am I crazy?
I don't know about 85, but I definitely think it's a lot on him.
Wait, so you guys don't think it was a lot on him? I thought it was a lot.
No,
on him.
I do. Maybe not quite 85%, but there's a lot.
What about you, Matthew? For sure. Oh, well, you probably didn't. Did you watch the highlights at least?
No. I went back and I watched the full game.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Yeah, I watched Big Ten football. Thank you very much.
I know. I just know you were at the goddamn game. Okay, man. I know. You were at the game. Sorry.
I got to it. I think it was Monday night that I watched. And I'm kind of in the same boat as Matt here. I'd love to blame Jim Harbaugh, and I do for the most part. I just think 85 is maybe a little heavy-handed. I'm probably somewhere, and it's even ridiculous to try to boil this down mathematically, but probably 70, 75.
And you guys are probably right. Like they played very well in the first half, and my point is more of like, I don't know if you guys remember or how old you were but like when they hired Harbaugh at Michigan, he was going to come back and make them this blue blood program, and they gave him an extension this offseason. And like, I agree. I'm coming around to you guys more where it's not completely his fault, but the biggest drive of the game was when they were down 33-30 and they needed to go score, get a field goal or whatever. Why? Like, I understand Cade McNamara is not the best quarterback in the world. I get that. But why? This is the most important drive you have had for probably 5 years since Ohio State, Michigan, when they were both in the top 5. Why are you throwing your true freshman quarterback out there? Like, yes, like I agree. I am way too hard on Harbaugh, but I think a lot of times he deserves it. These big games, he fails and continues to fail again at having his teams like just be able to put it away. Like, if you were supposed to come back and be this Michigan coach that was bringing back the glory days, everything like that, you have to shut the door on that game. You cannot give up a 16-point lead. And then, like I said, I think the decision to have it's not like he's a redshirt freshman and that he sat last year. A true freshman quarterback take that first snap on the most important drive probably of your career right now. Like, I just don't know what he's thinking, and I think he deserves a lot of the blame. Obviously not all of it, but I don't know how, if you're Michigan, you don't move on from him after this year. I just don't. I don't know. What do you guys think? I can't see him being on Michigan sidelines next year. I can't. Unless they beat Ohio State, which I don't think will happen, but unless they beat Ohio State.
Yeah, my feeling on the Jim Harbaugh situation, pretty similar to what I said earlier about Minnesota and PJ Fleck, is that when they signed him to that extension, they essentially said, listen, we're okay not necessarily being one of the top teams. We just kind of want to hang around. I think Jim Harbaugh can do that, and it seems like right now that's all Michigan really wants to do. Until I can't say front office, from an athletics department standpoint or from the university, until they really decide that they want a premier football program, they're not going to have one. And so I think they know what they're getting with Jim Harbaugh. I think he's performing to expectation. And unless they change their mind on what that expectation is, I don't really see him getting fired.
Okay. That's a very interesting take, just because it comes from you and you live down in the South. Like, because I don't feel like being up close with personal. I don't feel like that at all. Like, I feel like Michigan people still think they're Michigan and they are expecting things, but it's probably you're probably right from an outsider's point of view that maybe Michigan isn't just trying. And I don't know how much you guys follow college basketball. I do and dabble a little bit, but Michigan is very close to now being a basketball school. Yeah. Like, I would say for the past 5 years, they've been a basketball school.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I just think it's interesting. And I guess the other question I have before we get into this week and our picks and everything, if Jim Harbaugh does leave Michigan after this season, does he get a job in the NFL as either a head coach or a coordinator?
I could see him staying with college and going to another program. I just don't know what the program would be for him, because I don't see him getting one of those big jobs at LSU or USC, but I don't know if there's the right job that'll open for him. If not, I could see him going to the NFL. But I think he'll be looking for another college job if he does get fired.
Maybe he goes to the Nick Saban head coaching rehabilitation center.
That is, and you say that as a joke, but 100%, that's like, I could totally see next year him being like the offense, like I don't know, like, what do they call, like, Nick Saban always uses these weird words for his coaches. He's like
quality control or something.
Yeah, he's like the captain of the team morale or whatever. But no, you're exactly right. He probably is. The second he leaves Michigan, he's just going to call up Saban. Saban's going to be like, sure, you can be my secondary coach, where you get to focus on the secondary because that's what you played, and he'll be an incredible secondary coach. And then he'll eventually become the defensive coordinator, and then in 20 years he will get another job, and wherever that job is, Nick Saban will beat him where he's at. So Nick Saban will still be alive in 20 years, still on the sidelines at Alabama, because it's never going to end. All right, fellas. So we've held off for long enough. It's now time to get into the big games for the weekend, and obviously the pick'em standings overall. So just maybe so the listeners get a little. You guys have any strategy you guys use when you're picking the games?
Not really. I just kind of go off feeling.
Okay. What about you?
I was thinking about this on the way over here. If I walked into a casino and put $100 on black, and it came up red, I'm the kind of person, I'm not going to go play something I'm better at. I'm not going to change my bet. I'm just going to keep making that same bet because eventually it's going to work. That's what I did with Texas. I've done it like 3 weeks in a row, I think. And beyond that, with Florida, I think it was Jean Girard and Talladega Nights. My injury was one of pride and ignorance. That's the best. That's the best
Yes.
I can chalk it up.
Yes. No, I just wonder, because I only say is basically when I get to this point in the season, I'm pretty much looking for, I have three, I look through the board and I have three there that I'm like 90% confident in. And then I look at two other ones that are either this is going to happen or it's going to be the complete opposite. And I usually bet two of those. So, yeah, just wondering.
Yeah, that's me every week.
Yes.
Pretty confident about two or three of them. And then the rest are just,
Well, even though me and Matt sound like the dumber ones, unfortunately, we had a first last week as Matthew, our resident Vanderbilt plus 35, had the first 0-5 weekend. I'm not gonna lie to you. So basically, what happens when I do for the picks and everything on Saturday, I watch the noon games. And as they're coming to an end, I kind of go grab my board and I like look at the scores and whatever. And Matthew, were all your games at noon last week? That were most of them are early, I believe, correct?
Yeah. So they were all unfolding while I was out. Yeah.
So whenever it was, there came a point in time, because obviously, like I said, I have like the games that were going on or the games that are finished, like in my head that you have picked or whatever. I'm thinking I have like, oh, May's already 0-3, blah, 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 blah. And then like you said, they were ongoing, and then the final two like came in, and I was like, oh my god. Like I honestly, I was shocked. I didn't really know what to do, but it happens. How are you feeling?
It was tough. I really wasn't paying attention until after I left the game, and morale was low. Watching my team get just blown out by Georgia. We're on the escalators. We're leaving the stadium. I check my phone. I'm looking at the scores. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 losses. It is what it is. The fact that I'm, only in third place by 1 or 2 games, I feel pretty good about. And
Matt, I think that says a lot about me and you, that we're just middle of the road.
I think I had 2 1-4 weeks early on too. So
I think we both did, but keep going, Matthew. But yeah.
Well, this is the comeback tour, so
I'm ready. Yeah, and actually, this is the best time for us all to be pretty close because the standings are as follows. I'm at first place at 18-12. Matt, you're in second at 16-14. But Matthew, you're only in third. You're 15-14-1. So I would say you're about a half game behind. Really, you're a half game behind, which is it's so screwed up. And now I'm just realizing this now that one push is going to come back later and affect something in the standings. I know it is. I just looked at it. Oh god, it's rough. But so we're very close. And like I said, we're getting to the point where I feel like we pretty much know what teams are and what teams aren't. So it should be pretty good down the stretch. But let's head right into the big games. And obviously, like I said, I put the big games down. There's only one ranked v ranked matchup. That is our game of the week. Auburn at Texas A&M. But like I said, if you guys have any other you guys want to bring up, feel free. If you want to wait till the cards, go ahead. But I just kind of write some of the ranked ones down. So let's get into it with big noon on Fox tomorrow. We have Ohio State traveling to Nebraska. It's at noon on Fox. Ohio State is favored by 15, and the over-under says 66 on there. I don't know. I don't think either one of you picked this, so it doesn't matter. It's 66.5 now. Thoughts on the game, Matt? I'll start with you.
Nebraska this year has been a roller coaster. They started the year dropping to Illinois, and then they got pretty hot. Adrian Martinez was playing well, and then they lost. I forget who they lost to. They lost to somebody they definitely should have beat, and then they almost upset Michigan, and then they came back down again to earth. They've been up and down all year. I don't know. We don't know what team we'll get this weekend. So,
Matthew.
Yeah, I am a lot higher on Nebraska than probably most people. That being said, I would still take Ohio State minus 15. I feel like this game could look close early, but by the time we get the final score, Ohio State will easily cover.
Yeah. The fact that this isn't a night game in Lincoln really sucks for Nebraska because I think that makes a huge difference if it was a night game rather than a noon game. Just because, the lights and everything like that, it just makes it better. Here, I just have to pull up something. I'm writing my best bets. I'm writing my best bets article for the weekend, and this was in one of my best bets. But I also like Ohio State minus 15. Like I said, I'll pull up some stats in a second. They didn't look good against Penn State. I'll be the first to admit that. CJ Stroud he still doesn't look comfortable against good defenses, which is going to end up being an issue at some point. But it's not going to be an issue against Nebraska. Nebraska is pretty damn bad, in my opinion. They've had it close. If we're being honest, they probably should have beat Michigan. If they don't fumble on that first play of their first possession, or not their first possession, but like the last possession in the fourth quarter, they win that game most likely, or it's a lot closer. Well, it was close anyways, but whatever. You know what I'm trying to say. But yeah, like I said, no night game here really stinks for them. And I like Ohio State minus 15. And then I know, Matthew, you said minus 15. What about you, Matt?
Yeah, I lean Ohio State 15. They should blow them out. So.
Yeah, I'm trying to find this one stat. Okay, so since 2016, the Huskers and the Buckeyes have played 5 times. Ohio State's won all 5. And the average margin of victory over in those 5 games, 36.4 points per game. So Ohio State enjoys killing Nebraska, and they've done it often. Of the last 5 matchups since 2016, they've only been there was only one game where it was a single-digit final margin of error, and it was, I think, 5, 6, or 7. So I agree. I like Ohio State. It's one of my picks I'm giving out. But like I said, we'll get into picks later. Glad to see we're all on the same with that. Or, I mean, not great, and we're all just wrong, but whatever. All right, Georgia versus Missouri. I found this one very interesting, but obviously, Matt, this is an SEC game. So Matthew, so we'll go to you first. It's a noon game on ESPN. I believe it's Georgia minus 39.5 now, and the over/under is 59.5. Matt, what do you think about the Dogs versus the Tigers?
I'm not going to be special at all if I come on here and tell you all that Georgia's going to win. My official play on this game is I have the under. I have it at 60, but I'll move it to 59.5. Because at the end of the day, one team is going to score. Are they going to put up 60 points? I don't think so. I made this mistake with Vanderbilt before. But that's where I sit right now. I like the under on this game a lot.
Matthew, I know you said you got to hop out, so we are going to get your 5 picks for the weekend. I know you sent them to me, but just, let the people hear. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Yeah, just before I get out of here. So Florida, South Carolina, I've got it over 53. I'm taking Penn State minus 9.5. Stanford plus 8.5. They're going up against Utah. Auburn plus 4.5 for our game of the week. And then Mizzou and UGA, I've got under 60. So those are my 5 plays this week.
All right. Sounds good, Matthew. Have a good weekend. Unfortunately, you don't get to go to any games this week, or maybe you do. I don't know. But have a good weekend, man.
Thanks. You guys as well.
Have a good one.
All right. I don't know what he said. He texted me, so it doesn't matter. Okay, cool. All right, Matt, on to you. Georgia, Missouri. Any thoughts on the game? Like I said, I think it's 39.5 and over under is 59.5. It is not our game of the week. Never mind.
No. I don't know if this is still accurate, but I know about a week or 2 ago, Mizzou still had not covered a single game.
Yeah, they're winless against the spread this year, I believe.
Yeah. So I would lean Georgia with the spread just for that reason. But my favorite bet, is the under as well in this one. Georgia's going under like all the time, almost every time. And I've taken them over twice this year, and it's paid off. It's not paid off too well, but
yeah. Matthew was just talking about how he kind of sticks to things as well. I've stuck to the same thing on Georgia every single game since I believe the Vanderbilt game. That was the terrible Matthew pick. I have bet the under in every single game. Georgia, it is hit. It is incredible. And another just fun fact for you, the Georgia and combined with their opponent have only scored over 59.5 twice this year. So that's likely not to happen again, especially with the Missouri team. And combined, they only give up 42.6. So the under, everything's point towards the under here. And we both agree on it anyway. So take the under. As for the game, I would say I lean towards A&M because they're at home, and that's just about it. What about you?
For the game of the week?
No, shoot. Never mind. Georgia, whatever. I keep mixing up Georgia and Auburn and Texas A&M. Never mind. All right, we're moving on. So we both like the under in the Georgia, Missouri, under 59.5, which is crazy because I think that's like super high for Georgia, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that game's going to be like 35-0, 42-0. I don't know if Missouri is going to score a point against.
That's right. I was thinking about it, and I don't know. It's just so weird because against just 2 weeks ago against Kentucky, I think it was like 41. So yeah. I don't know what they're seeing. Maybe you know what? Maybe they're tricking us, Matt, and we're both going to look up on Saturday, and it's going to be 56-52. I highly doubt that, but who knows? So, yeah, both take the under on that one. Here we go. What's the next one? Wake Forest to North Carolina. This is my lock of the week. It's a noon ABC game. North Carolina is favored by 2.5. Why? No idea. Over under is 77 now, not 76.5. I just saw it. Wake Forest plus 2.5 is my lock of the year. I took it at +3 when the line came out on Tuesday because I had heard that it was going to come out at either 3.5 or 3, and I wanted to jump on it. Wake Forest is very good. Like you said, Sam Howell needs to have a good game to keep them in it. However, I just don't think North Carolina has enough. Like last year, they would have been able to keep up with Wake Forest, but not this year. They don't have the weapons they did last year. They don't have Daz Newsome. They don't have Javonte Williams. They don't have any of those guys. They have Sam Howell. That's all they have. And I think Wake Forest beats them pretty easily. I mean, the fact that they're not favorites is crazy. But yeah, I like Wake Forest and the points. Probably my favorite lock of the year, I would say.
Yeah. I was shocked that they were underdogs as well. I think that they will probably at least win by a couple touchdowns as well. I think I was tempted to take them on my thing, but I might pick them. But I don't know. Something about that game just seems like a trap. I don't know why.
No,
the fact that they're favored, North Carolina, it scared me a little bit. So I stayed away from it. But
I hear you. But like I said, I've been consistent and I've been taking Wake Forest the last 2 weeks, so I'm going to keep taking Wake Forest. But I hear you. That's totally a line where I'm like, that makes absolutely no sense. And the total is 77. So I don't know. I would just tell everyone to probably tune in tomorrow at noon to watch that one because there's probably going to be a lot of points.
Yeah.
All right. Michigan State at Purdue. 3:30 ABC game. This is a huge trap game for Michigan State. I think they are favored by 3 on the road at Purdue, and the over-under is 53.5. I'll just stick with this one. I'll go first. I know I've been saying I've been consistent. I've been consistent on Michigan State all year. Against inferior opponents, they're usually only favored by 3 to 7 points. I've always taken them because at the end of the day, what happens with Michigan State is a lot of teams can stay with Michigan State for about 3.5 quarters, but they're more physical, bigger, and they're faster, and they have 2 very good running backs that can carry the load at the end of the game. So I like Michigan State -3. Purdue's a tough game, but like I said, it's 3:30. It's not a night game. I think night games are so much different in college football. Maybe that's just me. I understand. I hate the 3:30 CBS games. I wish they would play them all at night, but I understand. But I like Michigan State. I've been sticking with Michigan State. I don't have the under on here, but if I were to choose one of them, I would also take the under. I would take Michigan State -3 and the under. But for this one, and I think in the contest, I got Michigan State -3. Matt, what about you, man?
Yeah, I agree. Purdue, I think, almost thrives off these day games, though. I know some teams when they're trying to get an upset, but I feel like the fact that they know nobody's watching, they just want to make people watch. They want to get people's eyes on them, and they are an upset special almost every year, at least once. But they already had one with Iowa, which not a lot of people were surprised by it. But
yeah,
I don't know. I think they already had their one big upset. I don't think it's going to happen again. I think Michigan State will have them ready.
Yeah, the only reason I say night, especially with Purdue, is because the one I remember the most is when Purdue literally beat the living shit out of Ohio State. Like I just remember that was a night game.
Yeah, I remember that one.
But no, it's Purdue's a tough place to play, but I just like Michigan State. I like them a lot this year. All right, usually a much more meaningful and bigger game. LSU at number 2, Alabama, 7:00 ESPN. Bama's favored by 28.5. The over-under 66.5. I don't know who is playing and who is not playing for LSU. It seems like every single player is injured. I think there was that story last week where they couldn't even practice because they had so many injured players. Ed Orgeron is tuned out. I would be if I was him too. I'm not going to lie. I don't know why they let him coach the rest of the year. I'm not touching this one just because I rarely touch Alabama games unless they're one of our game of the weeks. But if I were, I'd probably take the Bama minus 20.5. LSU I don't even know who's going to play for them. A and B, they're in such a disarray that like they may not win a game for the rest of the year. So I don't know, that's just my opinion. What about you, Matt?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, LSU, it just seems like a new player's out every week. I mean, they're completely. I don't know. I would probably lean Bama as well with the spread, but it's a lot of points. I'm not going to touch it either. But yeah, I don't know what's going on at LSU right now.
Yeah, I mean, they have like 3 skill position, like probably top 15 picks in Keyshawn Booth, the receiver, and both Eli Ricks and Derek Stingley. But yeah, it's whoever is going to come into there, they need to do a real rebuild for the most part of that. So, all right. Next one on here, Indiana at Michigan, 7:30 Fox game. Michigan's minus 20, over unders 51. Like I said, before the Michigan State game last week, I didn't think Michigan was all that good. I still really don't think Michigan State's all that good either. They're better than Michigan, though. Indiana's just not good. I don't know if Michael Penix Jr. is playing or not. For Indiana's sake, I hope he's not. I mean, he is literally one of the worst quarterbacks I've ever seen throw a football. And their backup, Jack Tuttle, has done a good job for them. I probably won't touch this game. I don't know how Michigan teams respond to that loss with Harbaugh. But if I were to do anything, I'd probably take the under of 51 just because I don't think Indiana can score. And Michigan, this could end up being like a 31-14 game. Yeah, I don't know. I think it goes under, though, if I had to choose anything. What about you, Matt?
Yeah, if I had to choose anything, I think I'd take Indiana. I feel like Michigan kind of just, once they lost that game, I feel like they feel defeated. I feel like they'll probably they'll win the game, but I think Indiana will keep it a little bit closer. I'm not sure who's starting either. I don't know if it's Penix Jr. or Tuttle, but I agree. Penix is not the answer there. So
he's so bad. I guess we can play a really quick game. So just thinking about it right now, what do you think the Ohio State-Michigan spread will be?
I mean, this week, what is it against Nebraska? 18?
15 against Nebraska.
15. It might be close to that at that point when it gets to that point. Maybe not quite. I mean, maybe like 12.5 or 13.
It might be. See, I'm thinking about it's either going to be 13.5 or 9.5, I think. And it is at Michigan, so it makes a difference. But
okay,
yeah, we'll see. And then on to our game of the week. It seems like we've had it a couple times now where we have a really good weekend, and then the next weekend's kind of blah, or we think it's going to be kind of blah, but it usually ends up having a lot of good games. I mean, that happened when Alabama lost last week, or not last week, whenever they did. Number 13 Auburn at number 14 Texas A&M. Once again, I am a night game guy, but it is a 3:30 CBS game with those guys. I don't know who the announcers are. I can't remember their names or whatever. Used to be Vern Lundquist, and he was the best, and now he's gone. A&M's favored by 4.5. Like I said, they are the home team, and the over-under is 49.5. Matt, thoughts on the game?
So I think I'm head-to-head with you on this one in the pick'em. I have the under. I think
okay.
Under. I cannot put my money in on Calzada and Bo Nix scoring points, so I'm going under with this game.
Yes, yes. With the SEC especially, I've taken a lot of unders this year, and I'll admit to you, the first this total came across. I was scrolling and I was like, oh, that's an easy under. I got to take that. For whatever reason, the more I looked at it and thought about it, Bo Nix is terrible on the road, and not just like terrible because he's actually playing okay this year at home, and he's been pretty good at home. He is terrible, like terrible on the road. Texas A&M's defense is incredibly good. Auburn's defense has some dudes that are going to fly around. So yes, everything points to the under, which is why I have to go against my word and take the over this week. I don't know. Bo Nix, like I said, I think I say this to you every time we bring up Bo Nix, Matt, but it's just going to be so funny when some idiot NFL team trades up into the second round and drafts him. It's going to be incredible. But I do have to give a lot of credit to Brian Harsin at Auburn. He's done it. When he took over Auburn, I was like, there's no way this guy from Idaho is going to have any chance in the SEC. He's done very, very well, and they have a real shot at actually making the SEC championship game. All they would have to do is beat Alabama, I believe. So, yes, everything you said is right.
Said than done, but yeah.
Yeah, everything you said is right, but and this isn't just like a head-to-head thing where I saw his and I just had to go over. No, we're both on opposite sides. So, yeah, awesome. I think that's the last one we're going to go over, and obviously now to the most important part, we give out our picks. Matt, I'll let you go first. What do you got, my man?
Yeah. So for the game of the week, we just went over it. I got the under 49.5 in the Auburn A&M. I was all over unders this week. I got 4 over unders this week. So I got over 37.5 in Army and Air Force.
Okay. Over 37.5?
Yeah. I still cannot believe that line either.
It's incredible.
I have over 67.5 in the Middle Tennessee at Western Kentucky game. I have Michigan State -2.5 at Purdue. And I have the under 71.5 Utah State at New Mexico State.
All right. Another just great slate from you, where now instead of just looking at the regular scoreboard on ESPN.com, I have to go to the certain small conferences because you're the only one that bets on these small conferences. But I do like the strategy because the best times I've ever had gambling were last year during the FCS season and when the bowl games when like Boise State would make them. And
I know a lot of the prospects are in the NFL come from the big conferences, but where do you go to find sleepers in the NFL draft? You got to go to the small conferences. So I love watching those games.
So were you all over Zaven Collins last year?
I loved Zaven Collins.
Okay, cool.
I was actually shocked he went as high as he did. I didn't think he was going to, but I was really happy that he did.
I was not happy. I wanted the Browns to draft him bad.
Well, I was happy for him, not like I'm not a Cardinals fan.
Well, I mean, first of all, if he was drafted by the Browns, then it clearly changes everything, and this Odell Beckham drama would never have happened, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I can keep dreaming. All right, I like those. All right, my picks for the week, and I got OSU -15. Like I said, I think they just crush Nebraska all the time. I like Michigan State -3, Auburn A&M over 49.5, Wake +2.5, and the Georgia Missouri under 59.5. I think I talked about all those already. So yeah. All right, let's well, that's pretty much it for us. And then obviously, like we do at the end of every show, who's gonna muff the punt this weekend? Who you got this weekend?
Are we gonna give a lock too, or?
Oh yeah, you can give a lock. I've already said my lock. My lock is.
Oh, okay, I forgot to get mine.
Yeah, my lock is the Wake Forest +2.5. I guess I didn't just say it, but I said it earlier.
Yeah,
Wake Forest +2.5. These will go to the Muffed Punt parlay. All 3 of our locks. I'll get Matt's in a second, but all 3 of our locks, parlay them together, see if they win. Matt, who you?
Yeah, so I already went over. I don't understand the number, but my lock is over 37.5. Army at Air Force.
I like that. I love adding that to because I totally agree with that. I love adding that to the parlay. Yeah, I like that. All right. Well, I guess I just asked you, but I'll ask you again. Who's gonna muff the punt this weekend?
I'm gonna go John Harbaugh, coming off a loss. I think Indiana's going to keep it a lot closer than people expect, and it's going to be a pretty bad look for him coming off a loss that he already is going to hurt his job. So I'm going to go John Harbaugh. I think Indiana's going to keep that game real close, and his job is going to get more and more – his seat's going to get more and more hot.
So John Harbaugh, the coach of the Baltimore Ravens?
Sorry, Jim Harbaugh.
I was waiting for you to correct yourself.
Yeah, sorry.
No, I'm just messing with you. But all right, Matthew just texted me. He has his from last week, which was himself. He muffed the punt last week. Yes, you did, Matthew. You did by going 0-5. I thought for sure it was going to be me or you, Matt, that went 0-5 first. It wasn't, so
it definitely looked like it early on. So.
Oh yeah. And then this week, he gives a good one. He says Jimbo Fisher will muff the punt. But would it be really muffing the punt, Matthew, if Jimbo's just trying to go to LSU so he can keep losing? So you never know.
Good point.
Muffing the punt this weekend. It's going to be Sam Howell, unfortunately for me. I take it back. It's not going to be Sam Howell. It's going to be Mac Brown. I think they're going to get beat by at least 2 scores against Wake Forest at home. It's not going to be a good look for them. This year has not gone well, and there's clearly flaws in that program. So I think he muffs the punt this weekend, and I think Wake Forest gets a huge win. Like I said, our team picks, I don't know what Matthew is going to say, Florida, Georgia, or Bama. I don't know. But prediction for the Notre Dame game, Matt?
I hate to say it, but Notre Dame regularly plays up to their competition and they play down to their competition. So if I was betting on it, I would probably take Navy plus the points. Navy usually also plays them tough a lot of the time. So, but Notre Dame should win the game. But
yeah, and Notre Dame's a little bit more used to it than most teams because they play them every year. But it's like whenever you play one of these triple option teams, you basically have to. It's basically a week of game planning, almost probably like a week and a half because of scouting. Week and a half of game planning for an offense that you're never going to see again until 365 days later. So. I always think those are tough, but I completely agree. If I were going to pick it, I would probably take Navy in the points just because, and that's how the Surface Academies roll. All right, that's going to do it for us on this Friday version of the Muffed Punt Podcast. Obviously, we'll be back next week, next Friday, give out some winners. Like I said, I do a Wednesday kind of a weekend preview. These guys might hop on every once in a while along with Tom. But lock 37.5, over 37.5 in Army Air Force for Matt, Wake plus 2.5 for me. And then, like I said, Matthew has, I don't know what he said, but whatever. I'll throw it up there later. That's going to do it. Matt, any last words, my man?
Go Irish.
Go Irish. Always. All right, let's rock.